Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. The mighty Matildas have stormed into the quarterfinals at their home World Cup. And the state government says Zip would be open to having more public spaces used as live sites for the Matildas' next match. Hobart's Wellington Court and Tasmania's 2 casinos have hosted watch parties for Australia's matches, with Parliament Lawns now being touted as a venue for Saturday's quarter-final. Minister Guy Barnett says while he'd welcome the move, it's not a decision for the government, but for Parliament's presiding officers.
If we've got a chance to cheer on the Matildas, I'd say Tasmanians, get behind them 100%, cheer them on, scream, do whatever you have to do to get them over the line.
He also says a potential public holiday if the Matildas win the World Cup is a matter for the Prime Minister. Well, calls for further probes into the racing industry have reared their head. New Minister Felix Ellis has backed the Office of Racing Integrity. With Parliament returning, he wasn't the only one under the microscope.
Protesters greeted MPs as they returned from their winter break, calling for the finish of funds to Tas Racing. Inside the House, an investigation into a leading greyhound trainer was questioned.
We welcome Mr Bullock's suspension, but have no confidence in the Office of Racing Integrity to conduct a fair investigation.
Any breaches that are found in that process of that inquiry will be dealt with appropriately.
Anti-racing advocates not satisfied, calling for a review into the entire sport.
He had the perfect opportunity to distinguish himself from his predecessor, Minister Ogilvie.
A new face has settled into the chamber, with Greens MP Vicar Bailey replacing Cassie O'Connor. But despite the break, many of the same topics dominated: health, housing and energy. The Marinus Link rethink probed, so too the new renewable energy dividend.
When hydro makes money, Mr Speaker, Tasmanians will save money under renewable energy
costing them
dividend.
Why don't you just do what you promised you would do and cap power prices instead of ripping off Tasmanians?
With a shock for Minister Guy Barnett.
I'll read the motion that the House centres the Honourable Guy Barnett MP.
The move eventually failing, as the man himself promises Marinus isn't finished.
I can say that the federal government has been very cooperative in response to our concerns.
Still hoping to keep the lights on. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Yet another cost of living blow for Tasmanians, with fuel prices again smashing the $2 a litre mark. We're being urged to shop around, but social services are warning this latest hike could push struggling families to the brink.
Another bitter blow as Tasmanians feel pain at the pump once again.
It's hard to predict what will happen next, but it does appear from people who are more expert than us that it will remain volatile for quite some time.
After months of stability, petrol prices are surging thanks to a rise in the fuel excise and overseas production cuts. The RACT says Tasmanians were paying $1.83 on average in July. That average figure is now close to $2, with some stations already selling around that mark.
Gone up about 15 cents in the last month. That's obviously a big rise. We're back where we were in November last year.
You still need it to get around, don't you? So, I mean, sometimes you have to pay what you have to pay.
Social service providers say it's another hit to the family budget, warning the rising cost of a tank hits Tasmania's lowest earners the hardest.
That can become a real barrier to you getting to medical appointments, to looking for work or actually going to your job or participating in the community.
Regional areas expected to feel the pinch as well.
They have less access to public transport, so they're more reliant on their cars.
The RACT says while high prices are likely to remain, bargains are still out there.
There is some variations around Tasmania. At the moment, you can get unleaded as cheap as $1.92.
There's not much you can do about it. You just need to shop around and see and find the best venue to get your fuel from.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanians have been stunned by a flash of light and a sonic boom, sparking both the midnight sky and plenty of debate over what the solar spectacle actually was. Experts have now confirmed falling pieces from a Russian rocket is what captivated those who saw it.
Is it a meteor? Is it a fireball? No, it's Russian space junk, and it lit up debate like the sky.
Broken up fireballs, the most amazing thing I'd seen in the sky.
Crystal Purden captured the flash as it passed over her Norwood home.
Never seen anything like it, thinking that it was like a meteor or something like that was going to hit us.
Tasmanians rushed to sneak in a shot.
What?
Capturing the skyward sensation as it made its way across Tasmania. Victorians were also stunned.
What the is that?
With one of the most spectacular shots seen over Mount Buller. And it wasn't just what you could see, locals also heard a sonic boom as it approached.
When an object travels through the air at a speed greater than the speed of sound in air, the air can't get out of the way in time. It causes what we call this sonic boom.
Debate has been put to rest, with confirmation the flash was space junk from the launch of a Russian satellite, breaking up as it re-entered the Earth's atmosphere. The debris ended up crashing into the ocean off Tasmania's coast.
There was no danger to people here. In fact, it's very, very rare for pieces of space debris to be found on the surface of the Earth. It's not unknown, though, of course.
Luckily this time, it was simply something to be admired. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Labor will support changes to the Projects of State Significance pathway, allowing 2 parliamentary votes on the Mac Point Stadium. Leader Rebecca White denies it's a show of support for the contentious project, saying it will improve scrutiny of the process itself. A first vote is expected on the stadium in spring. An upgraded endoscopy unit at the Royal Hobart Hospital will supercharge the state's 4-year plan. The Health Minister toured the facility today, which will allow a 25% increase in capacity.
Often that process is only around an hour and a half to 2 hours to completion. So this unit allows us to really have an efficient flow for patients.
Having the whole sort of journey of their care in the one place is just excellent. And it is very good for our older, patient cohort.
The redevelopment cost $13.8 million. There has been a major fall in the number of Tasmanians purchasing investment properties due to rising interest rates and other factors. New data shows there are also fewer mainlanders choosing to buy up big in the state.
A plummeting drop in those choosing to buy into the investment market.
It's been a quarter-on-quarter decline, and I think we described it as they're a missing link in our marketplace now.
Investor activity fell by 54% compared to last year, according to the latest quarterly report by the Real Estate Institute of Tasmania, showing increasing interest rates, a loss of landlord rights and rental freezes prompted many Tasmanians to ditch their investment properties.
Obviously they need to sell the property, the interest rates are high, they've probably got a property that they own that they reside in themselves with their family, so selling off the rental to obviously ease their financial stress is what they're choosing to do.
While fewer mainlanders are snapping up Tassie real estate, down by 48% on last year. Sale numbers dropped 23%, with the median house price falling the most in Hobart, then Launceston and the Northwest. There are more rentals available, with many outside the affordable range.
Last year you would have seen, 20, 30, 40 come to a rental property. Sometimes you'll get 1 or 2.
High-end properties were some of the most affected. The data showing million-dollar sales decreased by more than 20%. It's hoped the worst is behind us as we begin to return to a pre-COVID market come spring, especially for those looking to break in.
Look, it's got to be good news for a first-home buyer to say, well, I don't have to battle against the investor side of things.
Ruby Cairns, 7 Tasmania News.
Local charities are crying out for more housing to address the growing number of Tasmanians without a roof over their heads. This Homelessness Awareness Week shining a light on the harsh reality facing some of our most vulnerable community members.
As the season drags on, Tasmania's housing crisis is hitting home.
In winter, with the wind and the rain that we have, it's just demoralising. It's really difficult for people.
According to the most recent census, the number of Tasmanians without a roof over their heads is almost 50% higher than 2016. With little sign the issue is going away.
We are seeing families, individuals that are working full-time that can simply not afford to pay their rent, single individuals, even older individuals being forced out of rentals.
Launceston's Shekinah House is just one of the community groups stepping into the breach. The organisation offers showers, laundry, food and supplies to those who need it most.
It's quite surprising to see how many people come in, lots of people that are sleeping rough and lots of people that are really struggling to keep a roof over their heads.
Adding to concerns, almost a quarter of those experiencing homelessness are aged between 12 and 24, making it difficult to set young people up for success.
They may not learn the life skills that they need to or have support in their education as well.
Community groups and charities are calling for more housing as well as additional wraparound services for Tasmanians doing it tough.
Somebody who's been sleeping rough for 2, 3, 4 years, they really need a lot of support to get back on track.
The state government expects to deliver its housing strategy for the next 2 decades later this year. In the meantime, it's extending funding for emergency care relief.
We now have 17 emergency care and other care providers in the housing and homelessness space across Tasmania, and we're funding them.
And we have this government that keeps talking about all the work that they're doing, but we have the fastest growing rate of homelessness.
Working to bring more Tasmanians in from the cold. Annie Green, 7 Tasmanian News.
The next generation of Broadway stars are warming up their vocals and dusting off their dancing shoes. Students are promising to take audiences to another world with Be More Chill ready to hit the stage.
He might be young, but Bailey Landegg is an old hand at treading the boards.
Really excited to see how the audience reacts.
After taking the nation by storm in the Australian School of Rock tour, he'll step into the leading role of Launceston College's run of Be More Chill.
I get to play something completely different. It's been really fun bringing something to life that I don't really have any personal experience with.
The sci-fi musical comedy will make its northern debut tomorrow at the Princess Theatre. A lively spectacular exploring the trials and tribulations of high school life.
The message of being yourself and not trying to change for anybody else or to impress anyone else.
More than 100 students are anxiously waiting in the wings, promising to keep audiences on the edge of their seats.
Very energetic, bigger than I ever thought it could be.
The cast are just chomping at the bit to get these jokes in front of an audience.
After 6 months of rigorous rehearsals, it's down to the final run-through ahead of opening night.
There's nothing more exciting than seeing 120 teenagers on stage having the time of their life.
The cast hoping the town's reaction is anything but chill. Victoria Eastoe, 7 Tasmanian News.
And a group of passionate dancers are set to take to the floor, putting the finishing touches on their ballroom routines. New Horizons students will cha-cha their way into the first All Abilities event, set to dazzle this weekend's Open Dance Sport Championships.
The samba's the easier one and the cha-cha's a little challenging, but at least we keep practicing and we'll get it right. I feel super excited.
Totally inclusive. Doesn't matter what your ability, dance is for absolutely everyone. And when the people see these guys behind me on Saturday night, I think they'll probably get a standing ovation.
The contestants vowing to pull off their best moves and wow the crowd at Launceston's Silver Dome. 7 people have been honoured at the Tasmanian Palliative Care Awards at Government House, recognising those who provided outstanding care and compassion to locals living with a life-limiting illness. Around 100 people attended the event as the number of carers grows due to a wider need to look after our ageing population.
This is the only awards ceremony that really recognises the amazing professional workforce of the palliative care sector, also the volunteers and the carers that make up our sector.
Among those who took to the stand were Dr Cyril Latt for Outstanding Palliative Care Professional and Karen Zabigala for Outstanding Palliative Care Volunteer.
Georgia Baker has pushed the Brits at the World Cycling Championships. She claimed silver with teammate Alex Manley in the Madison, slipping behind Great Britain. Josh Duffy has been out of luck at the championships, managing 15th in the elimination race. To hockey, one of Derwent's star players says a heart-to-heart chat has inspired their late-season surge. The team is celebrating after thumping the Northwest Graduates in the Men's State Club Cup final. After going through a form slump earlier this year, a meeting between players and a coach has helped turn their season around.
We had one of our assistant coaches, Nathan Fitzpatrick, come and sit down with us and was like, we've gone away from our brand of hockey a little bit.
Diamondbacks are hoping their win in the women's final isn't their only trophy this season. The second place side now turning their focus to winning the Premier League to complete a historic double.
I think that having one cup under our sleeve is really going to help us to consolidate for hopefully a second.
And both sides will return to Premier League action this weekend. And the Devonport Strikers had plenty of time for team meetings as they sat through an 8-hour delay at the airport for their flight to the Gold Coast. The team eventually got away for their Australia Cup round of 32 clash against the NPL Queensland champions. Coach Tom Ballantyne is expecting a hostile crowd, but not entirely one-sided.
From what we've been told by the club and numbers that we were estimating, we're supposed to have a decent away crowd up there with us, so that would be really good for the guys to have those people around us. And there's a big, obviously, ex-Tasmanian community up on the Gold Coast. I think most of them will be coming down and watching as well.
Many of the players were a part of last year's history-making game against the Wellington Phoenix at Valley Road. The first time a Tasmanian side has faced an A-League team. What a fantastic night that was. So hopefully another history-making night coming up tomorrow, Kim.
Good evening. Hobart, Launceston and Burnie all 15 today. Devonport reached 14 degrees. The top, however, 16 at Friendly Beaches and Bushy Park, a couple above average. St Helens and King Island 15, Grove 14, Lowhead, Strawn and Flinders Island 13. Tunnock, a cool morning, recording a -2 early on today. Sunny over most of the state apart from a shower over the far southwest. Matsyker Island 8 millimetres prior to 9 a.m. and another 8 millimetres there at Matsyker to 4 p.m. The band of cloud to our west extends over southwest WA, areas of low cloud over parts of eastern and southeastern Australia. Tomorrow the high moves to the east, allowing a northwesterly airstream to develop ahead of the next cold front. And northwesterlies they will be, 15 to 25 knots over northern waters, as strong as 35 knots over the west and 30 knots over the south and east. The Bureau has issued a warning for strong winds from St Helens Point to Tasman Island and also from southeast Cape to Stanley, along with the southwest lakes. Hobart tomorrow expecting a top of 16, mostly sunny, okay for Geefston, 2 overnight, 15 the top and 14 for Bothwell after a morning frost. 14 the high also for Launceston and Devonport, possible showers over the north, Cressy, 2 overnight, 13 the high tomorrow. 14 for Burnie with a shower or two, possible shower for Strawn, 15 the top for Curry on King Island. St Helens partly cloudy and 15. Partly cloudy as well for Swansea, 15 the top for Orford. On Thursday, showers here with the cold front, mainly over the north and west. Fine in the east on Friday, showers elsewhere across the state. And on Saturday, snow to 800 metres and showers again mainly over the west, south and Bass Strait. Partly cloudy in Perth. Showers developing in Adelaide. Windy but sunny weather for Melbourne. Sunny conditions also for Sydney and Brisbane. And right now, mostly clear conditions, all temperatures under 10 degrees. Kim, that's the weather for one of the most ridiculous days of the year, International Cat Day. What's the use of that?
Just because you're allergic to them. They're perfect. And that is all your news for now. On behalf of the 7 Tasmania News team, thanks for joining us. For now, it's good night.